Hey everyone, well, I really just wanted to emphasize my excitement about ordering and finally receiving the Microsoft Surface Duo. When I first saw this last year, I immediately got excited at the prospect and the potential of what foldable kind of phone. Not so much foldable in the Samsung Galaxy Fold, which ain't too bad to be honest, especially the second generation that came out not long after the Surface Duo. But when I had saw this last year, I got immediately excited at just the capabilities of a pure kind of a dual screen device rather than just a foldable device. But as you know, I am definitely a sucker for the gimmicks, and so I really wanted to spend some time and just kind of go over the details, pretty much for my own entertainment. There's probably definitely a lot more that does or have done this much more than I have, but I wanted to just kind of show my appreciation for this device and just what I think is those kinds of moments, those aha moments that I remember hearing. Panos Panay had described when he was first unveiling, or at least the initial launch of the Surface Duo. And so I really wanted to show my appreciation as well as just my newfound fandom for this device. And so what I wanted to do was just basically show my interpretation, kind of my hints and tips, and definitely some critiques on this device here, which is the Microsoft Surface Duo. So here's my personal Microsoft Surface Duo. I bought with my own money, and so definitely there's a bit of friendly bias that I think that I want to show. And so I just wanted to basically do my best to kind of show my appreciation for this device right from the start. Just seeing it in video or in pictures really doesn't do it justice. It takes a lot to basically just kind of understand the amount of sacrifice and the amount of compromise they had to fulfill this vision of this form factor. And essentially that is what got me so enamored with this product, is that there is no crazy camera bump, or there isn't so much branding all over that you would normally see, and it's just so simple and so elegant in a way that I couldn't help just kind of fall for it, to be honest. And so essentially here's my device. I'm probably going to hide some of the thing, or do my best to blur some of the more sensitive information. But a lot of the reviews that I remember seeing and reading and watching was always about don't mind the battery. I have been using this like crazy, so I do get some decent battery life, but I'll definitely go into some detail on that soon. But what I wanted to say is the previous reviews leading up to the official launch last week was in most part kind of negative, and so everything was definitely glitchy, had that kind of first generation jankiness to it. And to be honest, it's still here, and there was a day one patch, and in my personal opinion, I believe they actually address a lot of those kinds of issues, and from crashing, from basic navigation, and just moving in and out through different items and different applications. And I feel like a lot of this functionality has been either alleviated somewhat or is already on the right track to being much more well, let's just say much more usable, as opposed to when you saw the original reviews, or at least the first going out reviews. And to be honest, all the different postures and all the different types of methods that I saw Panos, Panay, and all the different reviewers showed really wanted to emphasize that you'll be able to find. So you'll find that certain kind of posture that that'll work best for you. To be honest, I had about 3 of those aha moments, to be honest. One of them, the most straightforward one, was me essentially just wanted to read a comic book, And so I wanted to read something that I could pretend I was reading from a full comic book, and just being able to span the comic book onto both screens, or to the left or to the right. In this case, I wanted to do both screens. I was able to see both panels of the comic and kind of move it. And so this was my very first aha moment. I was like, hey, awesome. And if the text got a little bit too unwieldy, I could definitely just zoom in and just kind of emphasize, And so I was able to just read and enjoy a comic that, of course, is always possible through an iPad but think about it, you have something like this kind of device, and you open it and you have that you're in that mode that you want to read, whether it's an actual book or whether it's just kind of like for me just a comic fiend, but you actually have that opportunity. And so that was my very first aha moment, like that I thought, yes, I can read my comics. And so, to be honest, the second aha moment for me was the kind of full vertical view. And so plenty of times, sometimes you're just bored and you want to Google search something, or if you want to see, when is the new Oculus Quest 2 out for pre-order. And so first up, I got my keyboard. I'm in this kind of vertical view, and so since I've done my my keyboard layout in the split thumb, this immediately harkened back to my old school T-Mobile Sidekick days. And so I was able to just, let me see, Oculus Quest 2. And so I would search for that, and so it worked just great, and if I wanted to span that here, I got the full screen. And so I didn't feel like I was constrained, or didn't have to worry about I have to zoom in and read this text or open up a different type of tab, but I was able to just casually scroll through, and it felt so natural. Technically I kind of showed you the two different aha moments, but for sure the full vertical view, so I can kind of see things from a sheet of paper wise. And then the other one that you saw just now was I was in love with being able to type. And so being able to type in this method, I was so excited that I had this kind of freedom, and just kind of, because I have these kind of largish hands, it allowed my big old meaty paws to be able to type in a much more comfortable way. And of course I'm so used to it on phone, so I didn't feel like, oh, I can never use a phone again, or a traditional glass slab of a phone. But this helped me, and it really helped me to kind of focus on what I was doing and the task at hand. And in this case, it was just a singular task. And so, which brings me to my next type of cool moment, or at least aha moment, is of course what they advertised, is having these two different type of apps, left and right. So if I wanted to read my two sets of news apps, or crashes, and so if I wanted to read my two different kind of news apps, they'll open up just fine over through here. And so it worked just great, and I was able to scroll and read through Feedly, or through the Google kind of app, and all of this worked just great, and so it was so freeing for me personally, that I could just kind of navigate. And of course you have all the different postures, such as just kind of going single screen, and I do believe it saves the battery. Or if you wanted to flip it, and then definitely the camera, I will not contest what all the other reviewers were saying for the camera, that it wasn't the best, to be honest. And so for me, and for the purposes that I wanted to, since a lot of the work and the things that I like to do is kind of embedded in the Microsoft kind of ecosystem, working within Outlook, working within Teams, working within OneNote, and even Microsoft Office suite of applications themselves, was just fine. And so, and the integration was perfect for me, and it allowed me to utilize a lot of the software that Microsoft was already offering. And so I had nothing but praise, definitely for this kind of day one, day two, and day five at this point experience. And so I had nothing but amazing praise for just the overall use and just those aha moments that I would always get with the Surface Duo. And so, as far as tips, there's not that much that people have already done. And so, if I have my calendar, but instead of spanning it, this way to this screen, you see this kind of lower bar, you can always just kind of swipe it across. And I don't know if that's a decent trick or not. So, if I wanted to, if I had this page open here, I can click on this other tab and it allows me to open up another browser window. So, just like we, operate at home, even with multiple tabs, but if I wanted two different windows open, it allows me to have those two open. So if I was doing the research here, I can actually have the other window here. And it was one of those kind of now more mini aha moments, but I definitely enjoyed having this kind of focused freedom, to be honest. And so this was plenty of the things that I enjoyed about this one. And so I always found myself for the last few days of just kind of opening it up and being able to perfectly multitask, and that's why I was starting to group a lot of my applications, whether they're notes, banking, if I have my dual YouTube, either through the channel or just scrolling for videos to watch. It always put me in that mode on how I wanted to work, and this was amazing for me. In all honesty, it was amazing for me, and so I enjoyed every bit of it. And if you can tell, there's definitely some kind of a little bit of that jank, a little bit of that lag. And so you can definitely fault the hardware, or in my case, I want to be optimistic, fault the hardware, but hope for the best for the software. And so from what I learned, even enjoying Pixel phones, is that hardware really isn't everything. The software can be king. And so if you can develop and further improve and continuously improve the hardware, and if you can continuously improve the software, then I believe that you'll have an amazing device. So even though I wholeheartedly believe that the software could definitely use some improvements, it was a far description of my experience as opposed to what I was reading on the day one, or at least the the preloaded software, the demo software that I would see from some folks that visited Best Buy, and the way it kind of described it. So I have a lot of a lot of faith and a lot of trust that the software will actually get better over time. And since Microsoft, that I've read, had pledged at least 3 years worth of support for this device, I truly believe that can only improve over time. To the immediate critiques. And so I definitely have some critiques on the device. It is first generation. Definitely, one of the more glaring obvious one is that camera, and being having to, I almost lost my camera icon. Oh, that's probably why. But having to rely on something, let's get out of here. But on the camera, having to rely on just a single facing camera. But if you wanted to take a picture, you'd have to rotate it and then double tap to use this side to be able to use that camera. That is the ultimate, kind of a trick of trying to get it to work, And so I can definitely understand the frustrations of using this camera. Primarily, if you wanted to use this as a phone, sure, I definitely put in my SIM card, and I have paired a pair of my Pixel Buds, not necessarily the Microsoft Surface Buds, to this one, which I'll go over as well. And it was very functional. You could definitely answer a phone call and hit the answer button, and then you are good to go. And then, but of course, you'd be holding this up to your ear, and hey, whatever works, And especially if you can hear the person and they can hear you. It's no different than holding up those old car phones or those old OG cell phones way back when. And so using this as a phone, sure, it could be a pain if you don't have a set of wireless earbuds. Using it as a camera, even more so as a pain, because in my honest opinion, I don't believe this was designed to be as a be-all end-all photography type of expert type of device. It worked amazingly great for Google Duo calls. It worked amazingly great for Microsoft Teams video conferences, and I have no complaints outside of that. It functions exactly the way that I personally wanted to use the device for, and therefore it has no detriments, no negatives in that respect. The other kind of critique was the heat that actually generates off of this side, this right side of the Microsoft Duo, and I'll probably attribute it to me having an amazing time with the device and using it constantly. But at the same time, it does get warm, and at times uncomfortably warm. And so, if that's the case, I might need a case, or I might have to do a little bit more research if this is a little bit more out of the ordinary. Of this getting very warm to the touch. But I'll keep an eye on it, and that was definitely a critique. Maybe there might be something on the software side or something on the energy saving side. And I did notice that whenever I do move on to a kind of a single screen format, it actually does, cool off that screen, so I don't really feel it here. It is definitely closed off on that side, but it also feels like I'm saving battery as well too, because I'm only using one out of the two screens. So I definitely wanted to show, the kind of amazing gyro sensor gymnastics that this device has to go through. And so the way Panos had described it is that it's trying to accommodate to however you want to navigate or use the fold, or use the folding screens, whether it's in that tent mode if you want to watch something, whether it's in this kind of pseudo kind of laptop mode. You can tell that the screens are already rotating and trying to figure out how you are setting yourself up. If you want to still hold it into book mode, that's fine. If you wanted to hold it just in this kind of like faux kind of paper mode, that's fine. And so definitely it has a bit of a learning curve, whether before in Android 10 that also used to nowadays, even with Android 11, swipe this way to go back, or if you want this one to bring up your kind of your application tray, whereas if you're in the book mode, you're not basically and basically you're not doing it this method, but it's now from the bottom of that screen or the same side. So you have to kind of get more familiar with the orientation of your icons and your apps, and that kind of helped me and hopefully helps you to go, oh wait, am I swiping this way or swiping this way? Especially if you have all these multiple apps kind of open, how do you want to go backwards? So in this case, I'm going back this way, and if I wanted to change it to a different app, I'm swiping up that way. And so I found out as well that if I want to go to the home menu or go to the app switcher, that swiping from the middle part is kind of finicky, and so I was trying to figure out just what it wanted, what it really wanted me to do, whether I just wanted to change to the app switcher, or do I want to just go straight to the home screen. So from what I found out, depending on the speed and just how fast you fling your finger towards the middle and let go, that will take you to the home screen. Whereas if you do the same kind of motions, but then you hold it, that is one that brings up the application switcher. So I do hope that you have a little bit of patience when you're navigating. You want to get out something quick, and we always take it for granted, because if you're using a really good iPhone 11 or even a Pixel or even any kind of like a Samsung device, it is extremely responsive. Whereas this one, it does require a little bit more patience, especially if it's trying to juggle the multiple apps. But that is a far cry from a lot of what the reviewers have been saying on how terrible and unresponsive, this device was. And I truly don't think that this is the case for me, of course. And so I really did enjoy just the navigation. So if I wanted to do the whole spanning thing, I would grab it from the bottom, move it to the left, move it to the right. If I wanted to kind of swing that over, I can grab it from that bottom kind of bar, that handle, and swing it over there. If I wanted to make it take up the entire screen, I am more than welcome to. So I get a nice big old view. If I wanted to switch it over, kind of see it in this kind of method, so I can get a little bit better view. and just kind of see it kind of flow through that from one screen to the other. And I didn't believe when I first saw the demo, but man, it does the trick for me, you know. So you get that whole kind of view of how you wanted to, you know, view your information, view your data. And so since I'm here, I could see that white bar. So if I swipe, that would take me home. If I wanted to go back, I'd have to know that it's the opposite of where that white bar is, and that's my back. But let's go ahead and rotate back out here, and we'll be able to get back to our spanned Google Play Store. And so now we're back home. And so there's definitely a learning curve, you know. And even as adept I am with the Microsoft kind of applications, even with Android, you know, going all the way from, you know, 9, 10, 11, and just getting used to the more gesture-based navigations rather than the three button that you can actually enable here. That's a tip that you can find somewhere else. But you can find it and enable the 3-button navigation. I believe I really do enjoy using the gestures. Now one of the kind of suggestions I could hope for is I can disable, very similar to on the Pixel phones, if I disable the auto rotate, and if I wanted to rotate, in this case it will not, it'll stay the same way, but on my Pixel phone it actually knows that I'm in a rotated status. And so it would pop a little button here on the corner on the phone and say, did you mean to rotate it? I would hit that button and it would accommodate and rotate. Because if I notice, for me, whether I'm lying on the bed or sitting on the couch, and there are times when, you know, just to kind of flip over and I'm just reading something, you know, and all of a sudden it rotates, like, oh no, I want it to go back. And then I have to wait for it to come back and then go about my way. And so this happens a little bit too often, but I would just love a little bit of manual control how I wanted it to rotate. And so in this case, I'm definitely getting by, but if I had a manual control without having to kind of do most of the gymnastics for it, although I am grateful that it knows, you know, it has an idea of what I'm trying to do, that if it can, you know, allow me to manually control it as well too. But navigating around this is really a breeze, you know. Once you kind of get past that, you know, that evident learning curve, that wait, I wanted to do this, now I wanted it to do that. Wait, can I move this over to this screen, or am I stuck on this screen? Can I open up 2 apps at the same, or can I have, you know, multiple windows and whatnot? And so once you kind of get the general vibe of how you want to move and navigate around, everything feels really, really good. And as I'm approaching 5% battery, that basically is an indication of how much time I have left for this kind of very in-depth personal demo for myself. So I wanted to show that I actually have some kind of extra devices. In this case, I have my Google Pixel Buds with the Nomad kind of leather case. So if I crack this one open, I did install the Google Pixel software, or I'm sorry, the Google Pixel Bud software from the App Store, and it does allow me to easily pair, you know, these earbuds. I do have a whole opinion on these Pixel Buds, but you know, they work just fine, and they have all the information that they provide for these devices. So now they know they're Pixel Buds, but all I had to do really was just install the Pixel Buds software, and they're hiding right there. And so if I wanted to, get me out of here, perfect. And so they paired just fine, and I imagine the more official Microsoft Surface Buds would work great. And so just wanted to kind of test it out. What if I'm toying around with a non-Microsoft style Android product, and it worked just fine. So I had no problems getting this one to work. Now the other one I wanted to play with, or at least tease with whatever remaining battery life, and I might have to borrow the charger. And also a critique, I do wish they had this had, among the many compromises, wireless charging. I am very spoiled with it, but my Pixel 3a does not have wireless charging. My iPhone does, so it's a really it's mostly a nice to have than anything else. But for that next iteration or the next generation, I really do hope that they decide to kind of integrate wireless charging. Hopefully, they could hide the coil somewhere here, the coil's there. But if you can get wireless charging, or you can just throw it right on top of a Qi charger, perfect, because it's so flat and so nice. And so the one thing I did want to demo here is a little bit of gaming. And so today, Microsoft had released their Xbox Game Pass outside of beta. And so if you are a subscriber and you do have Xbox Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which includes for the Xbox, for your PC, as well as now for streaming to the cloud through Android devices, you can actually play a wide variety of games directly through your mobile device. And in this case, we're going to try out some Streets of Rage 4. And so here I just wanted to show this one in action. And so I'm going to play. Let's go to move it over here. I'm going to rotate it into that kind of quasi laptop mode, that if you can still see it here. And even though I do not have a decent mount or anything racked, or some kind of like a Razer type of device to hold it like a Nintendo Switch, I do have this one here, which is just your old-fashioned Xbox One controller. So that I've also paired it through Bluetooth, and so I definitely wanted to show just the advantage of being able to stream, full games on here as well. Okay. Without getting in trouble for any kind of licensed music, I definitely wanted to lower that. So, granted, if you got a good connection and you have Xbox Game Pass or Game Pass Ultimate, you can play games directly through here. And it's not just on this device, it could be multiple devices. It could be, your Samsung, it could be Samsung, it could be your Pixel. Unfortunately not iPhone yet, but hey, hopefully in due time that it'll allow you to play games. And I am getting my butt kicked. So, in all honesty, I wanted to show just the kind of the capabilities of this device. And I wholeheartedly believe that it'll only improve over time just by seeing just the strides in the software that's being made. And so, of course, this is a first generation device, so it's not going to be 100% perfect. And since it's only been out for so long, I want to say thanks on behalf of just the early adopters and just folks that really want to champion this kind of device, that just this kind of this kind of no compromise on the form over this kind of the function. But even the function has amazing kind of amazing potential capabilities that I've already seen firsthand and continue to see as I use the device more. So pretty much that's it from me. I really wanted to spend a lot of time just kind of gushing over and talking about the Surface Duo. Does it have its flaws? Absolutely. Does it have a camera that can function more as a video conferencing tool? Hey, that's where the world is kind of leaning, at least at this point, for Zoom, for Teams, for Duo. So you can definitely get some good quality out of that camera. You're definitely not going to take pictures of the greatest things anyway, but it does perform the function. It performs the function well. You might have even a better camera. You might even have like a better iPhone lying in your pocket. But I wholeheartedly believe that this initial iteration, and Panay had said, this is the third, fourth, maybe further generation of this type of concept. And so we are seeing a kind of a culmination of a lot of the efforts, compromises, the battles that have gone through to get this kind of device out into the market, and I just want to let everybody know that all that is not lost among the noise and the sea of kind of negativity. Maybe not entirely negativity, but at least the ongoing narrative that this is not a good device. And I personally do believe it's a good device. It definitely fills the purpose and the need that I wanted to do, whether it's for work, calendar, email, browsing the internet, even with my eyes as terrible from all the video games anyway. I could use it to read much more simply than kind of squinting through a phone. Even going through this is just fine, of course. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions or wanted to ask, please feel free to leave a comment, or just let me know if you have any questions, or even just definitely a rebuttal on a lot of the topics I talked about here. Granted, they're off the cuff and I just kind of ramble on and on, but definitely feel free to communicate with me and just kind of let me know how you feel or don't feel, good and bad. Other than that, thank you so much for listening to me and just watching, my hands, and seeing me tinker around with all the different, third-party devices that I use for the Surface Duo. Besides that, if you definitely enjoyed this video, please feel free to hit that like button. If you don't, please feel free to hit that dislike button. That's okay with me. And just want to say thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.